I said earlier in a previous or introductory video to the course, in this session we'll be looking at how to create block and then inline elements, and then how to add videos, images, and other stuff to a website. We'll also look at why and then how you're supposed to use all these elements in building a basic site. Alright, so to get started, you can create a new folder in your tutorials folder. So here I just created a new empty folder called project 1. So you can open this folder with your VS Code. So if you're on Windows, if you right click on the folder, you're going to see open with code option in the menu here, or you can directly open your VS Code. You can click on the VS Code to open it, either from your start menu, or even if it's on your desktop, you can simply click on that. And then when the VS Code is opened, you can click on file here, then you choose open folder, and then you choose the folder you want to work from. Okay. So in my case, I have tutorials. I can choose the project 1 and then open folder. So it's basically doing the same thing for you. All right. So from here, we'll create our HTML file. So I'll click here, and then I'll create index.html. So remember from the first video, you hold your shift key and then 1. So if you hit enter, it's going to generate the basic HTML5 structure for you. So you don't need to worry about memorizing or keeping all these things offered. Okay. You just need to understand how they work. Okay, so we've already gone through the basics, so I'm going to skip that. So here I'll change the title to adding media to a website, or let me call it HTML media. So HTML5. Yeah. All right. So you can click on your Go Live icon to launch it in your default browser. So if you already installed this extension, so if you are new to this session, I'll recommend you go and then check out the first video before proceeding with this if you don't have prior knowledge of HTML. Okay, so here if we change the title, we have the title in the tab of our browser. All right. So here you can think of a div. Okay, so let me create a heading and then explain divs. So divs are block elements, meaning that they automatically start on a new line anytime you create them. Okay, div is a type of block element, just like we have the h1. The h1 is also a block element. Okay. But with the divs, we use it for creating divisions or let me say sections in our website. Okay. So assuming you have a lot of elements, then this is a paragraph. Then let me have let's say a button here. So you click. Okay. So I have this element heading, paragraph, and then a button. So let me go back to the browser. So we have the heading, the paragraph, and then the button. So assume you want to take all these things to somewhere in the middle or the far right. Okay. So you need to individually select them. Okay. But you can think of this element as, let's say, items. Maybe you have items scattered on the ground. You want to carry or convey them to a particular destination. Okay. So if you are not keeping all of them in a bag, it means that you have to pick them one by one until you get all of them. Okay. So anytime you need to bring them back, you need to carry them one by one. Okay. That will be more difficult and stressful. Okay. The same applies here. So instead of directly calling the individual elements here, you can wrap them in something we call a div. Okay. So you can think of the div as, let's say, a bag. Okay. So if you wrap them in the bag, now anywhere you take the bag, all these items will follow you because they are in the bag. That's how it works. So you can think of a div as creating divisions or let's say sections in your website. So you can also have a div within a div. Okay. So assume here you want to keep these two items in a different location, or maybe you can give it a different background color or something. So you can wrap these two also in another div. So here we have a div, inside the div we have a div. So now if you want to give background to these two elements, you just give it to this div because this div is covering these two elements. Then if you want to give a background to the whole thing, you can give it to this div because all of them are within this div. So that's the basic concepts of how divs work. Okay. So later in this program, we are going to look at a real life example. So you don't need to worry much if you are struggling to get it now. Okay. So now I'll move on to section and why we create sections in a website. Okay. So here we have a div A div is just a division in your website. Okay. We also have a section. So you can use section to indicate the various sections you have in your website. Okay. So for instance, in your website, you can have a home section about services, contact. Maybe if you have a team or a portfolio, you can also link all of that using the section tag here. So inside the section, you can have your div here. Okay, so the section is going to kind of work the same as the div, but this time right, it's just identifying it as a section. Okay, so each section can have a unique identifier. We're going to look that later, so you don't need to worry about that. Okay. So you can have, let's say, home section, can have another section for, let's say, about, can have another section for, let's say, portfolio, another section for contact. It's working the same as the divs. Okay, but just that you can categorize your content on the web page nicely. So that's how you can use a section and then a div in your website. Okay, so next we just move on straight to our main topic, adding media to a website. Okay, so here I'm going to have three sections. So first section, this one will be for adding images to a website. Okay. So first I will create a heading here, adding images to a website. Okay. So to add an image to your website, we use the img tag. Okay. So you just type img and then enter. So the moment you type img, you're going to get this src attribute and then this alt attribute. Okay. So let me first explain the alt. So here, let me just write as the image of dot. If I go to the browser here, we see image of a dog. So the alt tag is mostly used when, or it usually displays when the source of the image you provided is not available. Okay, so here you can see there's no source for the image. So if the image doesn't have any source or due to some reasons the image is not able to display on your web page, the content in your alt attribute is what is going to be displayed to the user. So even though the image is not there, the user will know, oh, this was an image of this was an image of that. So that's why we would use the alt attribute here. Okay, so inside the SRC, we provide the source to our image. So you can get a link online or you can directly put images in your project folder. So for this session, I'm going to put some images in my project folder. Right, so I have about 3 images here on my desktop. So I'll copy these 3 images and then in the project 1 folder, you can create a new folder. The name is, let's say, assets. Okay. Or for short, let me just name it images to keep this simple. So I'll just call it images. Right. So inside the images folder, you just paste your images. Right. So now let me rename them. It's always advisable you rename them to something short so that when you are referencing them, it becomes far easier. So I mostly number my images 1, 2, 3 in that order so that I can easily reference it when I'm linking it to the HTML document. Okay, so I've renamed them to 1, 2, and then 3. So now back to the VS Code. You can also see it here in Explorer if the images are loaded. Okay, so we have 3 images here in the images folder. Okay, so here we'll provide a source to the first image. So the first image is in a folder called images. Then you bring a forward slash. So forward slash will just bring all the files and folders you have within the images folder. So if I choose the first one, it has linked the image to document now. So now if you hold your control key or command, then you click on it, it's supposed to open the image. So if it doesn't open the image, it means that the path you reference here is wrong. So you need to cross check. You check the name of the folder and then the file names here and then the extensions for the file. Okay. All right. So here in our browser, did I save that accident? Oh, sorry. I think I took the image off. So here in our browser, let me first add the image. First one. Okay. So here in our browser, we have the image display, but the image is too large. Okay. So we can adjust the width and height of the image using the width and height attribute in HTML, or when we get to CSS, we will explain how to add that also. Okay, so here to change the width, you just type width, then you provide the size. Okay, so you can work with percentages or pixels. That's the most commonly used ones. Okay, so here if I say 50% and then save on the web page, you can see the image is now taking 50% of the space available. So by default, we have 100%, and then this is just taking 50%. So this means that any device your website is viewed on, the image is supposed to take 50% of the space available to it. Okay, so even on a mobile device, it's still taking 50% of the space available to it. Okay, so if you also say 100% means I should take the entire space available. So here is going to take 100% of the whole screen. Okay. And then if you are working with pixels, so let's say 400 pixels, that's px. That's too small. Let me make it 500. 500 pixels. Okay, that's good. So here, if I move to a mobile device, you can see it's still maintaining the same 500 pixels, and this is going to cause your website to shrink down. Okay. So mostly if you are working with images, it's advisable you work with percentages so that the image doesn't cause your website to shrink down. Okay. So here I'll be adding three images. So let me make the first say 25%. So this will take 25%. And then I'll add another image. Let me take this off. Yeah, that's weird. So here I'll provide a source for the second image. So same within the images folder / then the name of the file. Then I'll change the weight to 25%. So you can choose to add the alt text here. Okay. Then images, then the third one. So you can have more images. This is just a demonstration of how you can add images to your HTML document. Okay, so now we have three images here, 1, 2, 3 loaded in the website. Then remember from the block element and then inline element. So for block element, they start on a new line automatically, but for the inline, they will all be inline unless there's no enough room for it to display the next element. Okay. That's why the images are sitting next to each other. But if you want the images to be displayed in block, then you can wrap the element in a block element. Okay, so here let me cut this img tag and then keep it in a div. Let me cut the second one also and then keep it in a div. And then I'll cut this also and then wrap it in a div. Okay, so now in the section I have one div for the first image, another div for the second image, and then another div for the last image. Okay, so now we have them displayed in block because block elements by default are supposed to start on a new line by themselves unless you use CSS to change their display from the default, which is block, to flex before they'll be sitting inline or next to each other. So that's the behavior of the element. So inline element automatically they will sit next by each other, okay, or they'll be inline unless there's no space for it to display the next content. But for the block, even if there are more space, it will start on a new line automatically. Okay, so that's the block element. So you can see this. So headings. So here, let me give you a quick example here. Headings are also block elements. So any element that starts on a new line by its own is a block element. So as you code, you are going to get used to the block and then inline elements, and then you will know when and how to apply them in your website. Okay. Okay, so next we are going to look at how to add videos to our website. So I'll create a new section, then I'll create a heading here. So adding videos to a website. Okay. So to add videos to a website, you simply use the video tag. Okay. So same for the IMG. In this, you type video, then you hit enter or you hit tab on your keyboard, or you can also click on it any way at all. You're going to get this element. Okay. So now within this SRC attribute, that's why you provide a source to the video. Okay. So here too, I'm going to get one more video from my desktop. One more video. Okay. So yeah, I have one video here. Okay. So you can get one video from your desktop. Then you go back to your project one and then create a new folder for videos. Okay. So for this too, you can have more videos. Okay. But for this, I'm just using one. Then you can rename the file to one, okay, or any other short name you prefer using. So here, after adding the video, you can cross-check your file explorer here to see if the video was added. Okay. So here we have the video here. Yeah. So let me close this back and then yeah. Okay. So here within the SRC, that's why we provide the source to the video, just like we provided the source to the image in the IMG tag. So here you just type the name of the folder, which is videos, and then the name of the file, 1.mp4. So this is the name of the file. So here, let me go back to the web page. The web page, we are having this big background here where we cannot play or pause the video because there are no controls here. There are no controls. So by default, the video tag doesn't have controls unless you add those attributes to it. And then you can see the width is very big. So you can use the width and then height attribute just like we did for the IMG tag. So the width, I can give it let's say 50%. So the video will take 50%. And then next I can add the controls attribute. The moment you add the controls attribute, you are going to get this play attribute. So here you'll be able to play and then pause the video. You'll be able to also make it full screen. You can also adjust the speed, download, increase the volume depending on how you want it to be displayed. Okay, so that's how you can add a video to your web page. You can also add more attributes like autoplay. So this means that the moment users visit your web page, the video will start playing automatically. So mostly if you want to use the video as a background, that's how you go about it. And then mostly for autoplay videos, we always mute the sound. Most of the browsers, if you have autoplay on and there's no mute, it's not going to play the video. So should be mindful of that. So anytime you have autoplay, make sure it is muted. Okay. And then if you are using it as a background, you can add this loop attribute to it so that the moment the video stops, or let's say ends, it's going to restart by itself. So you see the loop attribute. So if you are using it as a background, you'll always be playing whenever it stops. Okay, but if you just want to add it to your website, and I think the controls should be okay for that. But if you want to make autoplay muted and loop, you can add the attributes to it. Okay, so that will be all for adding videos to your website. So same, you can adjust the height, but I would advise you do that. You can always just adjust the width. Adjusting the height without shrink or make the video too small. So we'll create a next section for the last media type. So here for audio, you can also add documents and other stuff. But for this, you are just limited to images, audios, and then the videos. So to add audios to your website, you type audio tag. So within the SRC, you provide a source to the audio, just like we did for the video tag. So here you can guess the audio would also need the controls attribute. So here, let me create a heading. So adding audios to a website. So here you provide a source to the audio. Or let me get some audio from my desktop. Okay, I have two, so one, two. So you can also get some audios, MP3 files. Then you go back to your project one and then create a new folder. So let me call this audios. Then you paste your two audio files there. So same, I'm going to rename it. So I'll name this one and then I'll name this two. Okay. But you can choose any name you are comfortable with. So you always have to cross check to see if the folder was created and then the files are actually there. So here we have the two files. So inside the SRC, we have the path or source to audio file. So I have a folder called audios. It should be the exact same name. And then the MP3 file. So here, if you go back to your page, we don't have anything here. But the moment we add the controls attribute to it, now we have the audio file here. Okay. So you can play the audio file from here. Okay. So similarly for the the video, you can adjust the volume. You can download, you can increase the play speed here. So you can play around this. All right, so here let me add one more audio. So audio, then audios, and then two. So same, you add the controls. So the audio is similar to the video, so you can also add the autoplay. There you can also add the loop attribute to it. Okay, still going to work for it. So you can see it's working automatically, even though I have not clicked on any button. That's because of the autoplay, not loop. So guys, I think that'll be all for this section. So in the next session, we will look at how to. In the next session, we'll be looking at how to add classes and then IDs to your elements so that you'll be able to create a beautiful website, adding CSS and other stuff to it. So if you have any questions on these elements we've looked at, you can leave a comment in the section below so that I will just check that out for you.